When you hear the term international law, what pops into your head? Probably something about grand courts, treaties between nations, all very serious stuff, right? But, that's really only half the story. Turns out, there are actually two completely different worlds of international law, and today, we're going to explore both of them. So let's get right to the heart of it. What is the real difference between public and private international law? Now, this might sound like some minor legal detail, but trust me, it's a fundamental split that changes absolutely everything.
Yeah, so forget the idea that this is all just one big system. It's not. The best way to picture it is like two separate legal universes, just operating in parallel. One of these worlds governs the giants, the nations themselves. And the other one, well, that one governs us. Let's start with the giants.
First up, we're diving into the public sphere. Now, this is the world of international law you're probably most familiar with. It's all about the rules and relationships between entire countries.
And here's the more formal definition. Public international law is basically the set of rules that governs how countries interact with each other. This covers the whole shebang, from trade agreements and border disputes all the way to the laws of war.
So if you take away one thing, it's this. In public international law, the main actors are always countries. The entire legal framework is built from the ground up to resolve conflicts between sovereign nations. Okay, so now let's hop over to that other world and see just how different it is.
All right, let's switch gears and enter the private sphere. If the public world was all about nations, this one is all about individuals. It's the law that steps in when private citizens from different countries find themselves in a legal tangle.
So what exactly does this cover? Well, private international law is all about handling disputes between people or even private companies when those issues cross national borders. We're talking less about treaties here and more about figuring out practical stuff, like which court has jurisdiction and which country's laws actually apply.
The key thing to see here is that the players aren't countries, but people. People like you and me, or the businesses we deal with. This whole area is about personal or commercial disputes. Think about an international marriage, buying something online from another country, or a contract between two international companies.
Okay, so we've looked at both worlds on their own. Now, let's put them side by side. This is where the distinction becomes crystal clear. This is pretty much the main takeaway of this whole explainer.
And there you have it. It becomes so simple when you see it like this, right? Public law is for countries arguing with other countries. Private law is for people from different countries having a dispute. The actors completely change the scope of the law. It really is that straightforward. Nations versus individuals.
Okay, so we get the difference. But you might be wondering, why is this so important? Why do we even need these two separate legal worlds in the first place?
Well, this division matters because it touches pretty much every part of our globalized lives. The public framework is what allows countries to cooperate on massive issues like climate change. And that private framework? That ensures that if you buy a faulty product from a company overseas, there's a system to figure out which country's laws are there to protect you. Ultimately, it just comes down to this really powerful idea. We have one set of rules for the giant entities we call nations, and a completely separate set for the billions of people living inside of them. It's a legal system that's built for two totally different scales of interaction. And that leaves us with one last thought. In a world where some tech companies have more influence than entire nations, and where a single person can sometimes shape global events, that line between public and private starts to get a little blurry. So the real question is, where do you think these two legal worlds are going to collide next? Something to think about.